Can a team that has gone more than 20 races without truly winning fight for victory again on one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar? Friday's day at the 2025 Mexican Grand Prix was an earthquake for the forecasts. Few, even within the paddock itself, anticipated seeing Ferrari topping the timetables on a circuit as challenging as the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. The surprise not only came from the times but from the way they achieved it: consistency, control, and most unexpected of all, real speed lap after lap. It was not an isolated return or the result of changing conditions. It was a clear message to the rest of the grid: Ferrari is not dead. Charles Leclerc was in charge of sending that message, and he did it forcefully. In the first free practice session, he recorded a time of 1 minute and 18.380 seconds. The most impressive thing was not just that he finished first, but who was behind him. Mercedes' young talent, Kimi Antonelli, was just 107 thousandths of a second behind, demonstrating that the times were not inflated by external factors such as yellow flags or sudden changes on the track. This established a clear pattern: the SF25 was operating in Mexico. Now, you have to understand the context to assess the magnitude of the achievement. The first session was marked by the mandatory presence of rookie drivers, a rule imposed by the FIA to encourage the development of new promises. This caused key figures such as Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and Lando Norris not to participate in that initial session. In his place, Ferrari put the Italian Antonio Fuoco, a driver who, although he has an outstanding track record in endurance, lacks the qualifying pace necessary to extract the maximum from an F1 car in just 1 hour. His result was revealing: last, more than 2.5 seconds behind Leclerc's time. This difference underlines how well suited the car was, but also how fine-tuned Leclerc had to be in his technical approach in driving. But the real turning point came in FP2, when the starting drivers returned to their cars. Here, Max Verstappen dominated with a 1 minute and 17.392 seconds. Until then, everything seemed to return to normal. However, what was surprising was that Leclerc not only remained at the top of the performance, but finished just 153 thousandths behind the three-time world champion. This was not the product of a slipstream turn or a special motor map. It was the result of solid work, of preparation that found its first moment of lucidity all season in Mexico. Ferrari, which had not won a race since Carlos Sainz's victory on this same circuit in 2024, showed for the first time in months a synergy between car, driver, and circumstances. That consistency in their times, added to the 5th place of Lewis Hamilton, who returned to his seat after missing FP1, offered an unprecedented panorama for the Italians, competing face-to-face with Red Bull and McLaren in a weekend in which no one was counting on them. That's why this result was not just unexpected, it was symbolic. A team that has been criticized, dismissed, and questioned all season long found a respite of clarity in the thin air of Mexico City. Friday practices do not award points, but they do send signals. And the signal that Ferrari gave was powerful. They are ready to fight, at least in this very particular field. This action does not eliminate their underlying problems nor guarantee a good Sunday. But it makes it clear that, when the conditions are correct and the technical decisions are aligned with the demands of the circuit, Ferrari still has weapons to surprise. And that, in a season like this, is pure gold. To understand why Ferrari was able to reverse its fate at the Mexican Grand Prix, you have to look beyond the screen times. The key is in your technical approach. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez, at 2,285 meters above sea level, poses extreme challenges that completely alter the rules of the Formula One game. And Ferrari, unlike other seasons, arrived prepared. At Mexico City's altitude, the air is 25% less dense. This directly affects the ability of the spoilers to generate downforce, decreases the efficiency of the cooling systems, and compromises the thermal management of brakes and power units. Under normal conditions, a team seeks to maximize aerodynamic efficiency without sacrificing too much drag. But in Mexico, that logic is reversed. The most important thing is to prevent the car from thermally collapsing. Ferrari decided not to speculate. Instead of following a conservative strategy as in previous years, he adopted a radical solution. The SF25 arrived in Mexico with a package of aggressive modifications that made it clear that the priority was not to be the fastest on a straight line, but rather the most resistant in extreme conditions. The images revealed a completely adapted body, with a total of 8 additional ventilation openings, 4 on the side pods and 4 more on the upper part of the engine hood. This design does not seek to improve aerodynamic flow. It seeks to release heat at all costs, even if that means losing aerodynamic efficiency. The reasoning behind this decision is not new, but its implementation at Ferrari is recent. In 2022, the team suffered serious reliability problems on this same circuit, to the point of being forced to limit engine revolutions and use a smaller turbocharger than its rivals to avoid mechanical failures. That experience marked a technical turning point. This year they didn't want to repeat the mistake. But the thermal adaptation strategy was not limited to the body. Ferrari also introduced new rear brake ducts, specifically designed to maximize airflow in low atmospheric pressure conditions. At altitude, the brakes suffer due to the lower capacity of the air to absorb heat. Without adequate cooling, overheating can lead to loss of efficiency, system fatigue, and risk of structural failure. That's why this type of technical update is so relevant, even if it doesn't receive the same media attention as a new front wing or a more efficient flat bottom. The difference with other teams was notable. Red Bull, Alpine, Williams, Racing Bulls, and Sauber also brought improved cooling packages, but they did so with less intrusive solutions, more balance between reliability and downforce. Ferrari, on the other hand, took the more extreme path. This decision is due to an internal structural limitation. The aerodynamic development of the SF25 was frozen since June. There are no more performance improvements on the way. All they can do is preserve reliability and maximize what they already have. In that context, the aerodynamic sacrifice makes sense. It is literally his only card. Fred Vasseur, the team director, was clear in his statements. They underestimated the psychological impact of stopping development so early. The internal morale of the team declined, and the pilots began to lose confidence in a project that seemed stagnant. But in Mexico, that narrative changed. For the first time in months, technical decisions and on-track execution coincided at the right time. Leclerc's performance in Mexico, close to Verstappen's pace, cannot be analyzed in isolation. The altitude, the specific cooling package, and the unique conditions of the circuit helped. But the rest of the schedule doesn't offer many similar scenarios. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez is an anomaly within the championship. It is a high-altitude circuit with long straights, limited traction. Most of the upcoming tracks demand other types of qualities: aerodynamic efficiency in high-speed corners, precise management of tire wear, and rear axle stability that has been one of the weak points of the SF25. And then there is the classification. Ferrari has historically been strong in short runs, but it is in the race where the real contenders are separated from the sporadic hopefuls. Strategic decisions, thermal degradation of tires, and the ability to maintain performance lap after lap in dirty air are the true indicators of competitiveness. In Mexico, that judgment has not yet been issued. The challenge for Ferrari will be to maintain competitiveness when the environment no longer works in its favor. Circuits like Interlagos, Las Vegas, or Abu Dhabi will not allow the luxury of focusing solely on reliability. There you will need a balanced, versatile car and, above all, with room to fight in different conditions. The freezing of technical development complicates this panorama. There are no more new parts to wait for. What they have today is what they must survive with until the end of the championship. However, there is an opportunity in this. Ferrari no longer has the pressure to make improvements. Your attention can focus on maximizing your understanding of the car, on fine-tuning your setups, on reading better on the weekends. That is their only way to stay competitive. The question then changes. It is not just about whether Ferrari can win in Mexico. It's about whether he can learn enough here to replicate that level on the circuits to come. Because only then will we know if this result was a fluke or the first step towards a real recovery. The most interesting thing about this moment is not only what Ferrari did on the track, but what it represents psychologically. For Leclerc, this was a sign that he can still be a protagonist in 2025. For Hamilton, it was an opportunity to start feeling like an integral part of the team. And for the technical structure, it was validation that the pragmatic approach, focused on reliability and damage control, can be as valuable as any revolutionary aerodynamic development. But all of that is still a promise, a potentiality. And as in everything in Formula One, what counts is not what is promised, but what is executed on a Sunday. Are we seeing the silent resurrection of Ferrari or just another fleeting illusion that will dissolve as soon as conditions change? And if this analysis has helped you see with new eyes what is happening with Ferrari, consider subscribing. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.